right. Well, I'm kind of live. All right, guys. So there are people out there. I got a little bit worried because I was seeing two different streams showing up on my on the YouTube. So I wasn't sure if I was on the right one or myself, but everyone else would be on some other stream saying, "Are we missing something?" Or it'd be even worse if y'all went for 20 minutes or so and didn't miss me at all. How are y'all doing, guys? I'm gonna start up my on my YouTube as well, just so I can keep an eye on this and hopefully make it easier to see the comments and everything else. All right, there we go. Well, maybe this is working okay. All righty. Let me start, just as I always do, with a big old SKD 143. I love my wife. I love my kids. All the other Big Brother fans, reality TV fans of the world, love y'all too. I hope y'all are doing fantastic. Monday evening of Thanksgiving weekend. It's always crazy with COVID and everything else. It's been a little crazy already, but now with the holiday coming up and everything, it's been kind of a strange week, or will continue to be a strange week. So thank y'all for finding me. For those of you who have seen past episodes, we're in episode 4 here on YouTube. So for those of you who've seen the first 3, thank you for coming back. I certainly appreciate that. For those of you who are new, thank you for finding me. For those of you who may not be watching this live, which Monday night, the 23rd or so, thank y'all for watching the replays as well, which are sitting out there on YouTube. Let me change this banner. I'm figuring all this stuff out as we go along. It's kind of fun. All right, guys. So how are y'all doing? Monday night again. And wow. Getting ready. We'll talk about Thanksgiving in just a second. Now, for those of y'all that are up in Canada, Angie Hunt, some of y'all other up there. Oh, thank you for someone said the sound. Sound is very clear. Well, that's pretty good considering I have my microphone way over here. I tell you what, I ought to be a champ at the microphones by now. They taught us all how to do the microphones while we were inside that house. It was a major task every night to do those things. But I'm going to hook this up just to make it that much better. I've never really had an issue in terms of microphones and talking. I'm one of those. I used to do presentations when I was in oil and gas, I still am, but I used to do some presentations for 1,000 people or so in a big conference hall. And times like that, I'd use a microphone. But most of the time, if I'm sitting in front of 40 or 50 people, I can pretty much talk loud enough to not even need the microphone. I have, y'all saw me in the house. Yeah, Christy certainly overheard my less than quiet whisper voice. So yeah, I tend to have a booming voice, but still comes in handy to have the microphone when I do things like this. All right. So how are all y'all doing? Again, Monday night. A couple things I was going to talk about real quick before. I don't know. I'm really kind of open the book, so I'm going to try to read the comments. And bear with me. If I miss one, it's probably just because I just plain missed it, guys. And I'm not going to shout out to all of y'all I see on there because there's so many of y'all. That's so cool. But no, thank you, Bright Star, for confirming sound and camera. Appreciate it. So lost my turn with that. Oh, all right. Well, we'll just get right into it then. This day in history. I always give a few minutes to talk about things that are going on, either national, whatever. I think today is National Cashew Day. I don't have a whole lot to say about cashews, other than I was actually in Brazil and found a cashew plant once and found an actual cashew, which was like a little red flower thing, or the end of a flower. So I took that home one time. That's kind of cool to see a cashew growing out in the wild. But other than that, if you love cashews, I like cashews. Enjoy National Cashew Day. But I wanted to move straight on to this day in history, 1992. And I'm sure y'all sitting there thinking, what in the world happened in 1992? Oh, Boss Hogg's got this story for y'all. Do y'all realize on this day, November 23rd, 1992, at the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas, Nevada, IBM introduced the world's first smartphone. 1992. That's only, it's 38 years ago. I guess that seems like a long time when I think about it that way. But for my years and all, it doesn't sound so bad. They launched the very first smartphone. It was called the IBM Simon. Didn't have internet access because we didn't have browsers or anything back then. All it had was access to fax machine. Somehow you could fax with it, or at least read faxes. And you could type up an email, and then you have to dial into a special dedicated server line, which would upload your email. So then it could go to computers and everything else. And it did have a touchpad, so you could place phone calls and talk like a mobile phone, but it also was a smartphone with the email capabilities. It had alarm clock and all kinds of stuff like that. No apps or anything, just strictly very basic. Weighed just a little bit over a pound. Looked like a bit of a brick if you look at it. That was the world's very first smartphone. It wasn't actually sold to the public until 2 years later. It cost, I think, $1,000. And I'm sure back then, I guess it was a huge deal. I was a little behind the time technology-wise. I was still happy to have my pager back in the mid-90s. That was fine with me. I felt like a bigwig because I walked around carrying a pager because I needed it for my job. I didn't get my first I didn't get my first cell phone until early part of 2001. So I've had a cell phone now for 19 years. And, 19. Yeah, thank you, Ma. 28 years, 1992. So yeah, 28 years since they launched a cell phone. Still, smartphone still sounds like a bit of a time period. But yeah, so I had my first cell phone in 2001. It's been 19 years, and now I don't know what I'd do without a cell phone. If I didn't have one nowadays. It's become such a part of our life. You feel so lost without it. Man, my poor kids, Kelly and Daniel, they're so excited to have cell phones and everything else. And it does mean so much, especially in the age of COVID and all. Just so great having that communication. But I got to say, as a kid, there was something to be said for not having a phone when I was growing up. When we went off to do running around, our parents couldn't keep track of us other than just giving us a curfew. But as long as you were home by your curfew, midnight, 1, whatever it was, you were golden. It was a lot harder for parents and kids to stay in touch in between, which as a parent, I'm glad we have that access. As a kid back then, that wasn't too bad. But anyway, so yeah, first smartphone back in 1992. All right, let's see. So a couple of these things. Love my first flip phone, Bright Star said. My first phone wasn't even a flip phone. It was just a little brick looking thing from, I don't remember who sold those things back then. Had text messaging, but I think they charged like 25 cents per text message back then. So yeah, it was, Julia Shepherd, where are you? That's an interesting room. Well, Julia, I wish I was in this particular room. This is actually a green screen, but this is a wall of the Dixie Chicken, which is the beloved bar of Texas A&M University. It's right across the street from the university. It's been there since the mid 70s. It's where I spent 4+ years at A&M, going to school during the week, but at nights, especially on the weekends, coming up here to the Dixie Chicken and drinking 65-cent long neck beers and playing a whole lot of dominoes while listening to a lot of country western music. This was one of my hangouts. It was right across the street from my dorm that I stayed in for most of the time I was at A&M, which meant I didn't have to drive. All it meant was if I had a little too much to drink, it's like Frogger, the old game, video game. I just had to make it across the road and I'd be fine because the dorm was right across the street. So yeah, Dixie Chicken, I'd love to go back, but I guess it's been about a year since I've been there, since last fall. So once COVID's done, I'm ready to head back. All right, Angie's saying on Jackbox game, there's a mini game where you have to dial using a rotary phone or you die. I watched, was it Jeff Schroeder from Big Brother? He does his Daily Blast Live. And it was either that show or something else. They had a rotary phone out in the middle of a street, and they were asking people to show how to use it. And there are a lot of people that had no clue what a rotary phone is or just what you do in terms of dialing and all of that. So yeah, I remember rotary phones. I remember back in the day before wireless or anything else, you had to plug your phone into the wall, and you only had 1 or 2 phones in the house. And we got all excited because we went and bought extra long extension cords so you could take the phone into a back room and close the door and have some privacy while you're talking. That was high tech when I was growing up. All right, let's see what else is going on. Ma said, I haven't seen the Kazakhstan episode talking about an amazing race. Great episode. I haven't done a recap of it yet because I got a little behind. I'm going to try to do that next day or two. Kazakhstan, I've been there. Kazakhstan is a very interesting country because it was a former Soviet republic. So you very much they speak Russian. There's a Soviet influence to some degree. But at the same time, it's different. It's not Russia. It's more more Central Asian, more influence from the Ottomans and the Mongolians and some of that part of the world than up in Russia. Very friendly. Oh my gosh, friendly people. They served a drink to us called dough, which was fermented milk, yogurt kind of drink. And God, they just would bring food to us the whole time I was in Kazakhstan. I'll tell you one quick story, then we'll move on. When I was in Kazakhstan, I had a chance to go to a grocery store. And I went on one aisle and I said, oh my gosh, they have got a lot of water for sale because there was an entire aisle of nothing but bottled water. Well, then I started checking a little bit more and I realized that half the aisle was bottled water. The other half of the aisle was bottled vodka. And this wasn't any of that Stoli or the high-end vodka. This was the local base stuff for people who just wanted to drink a lot of vodka. So they just put it in the same water bottles that you drink water at here, and just load it up with vodka. So you got to be careful what you buy. It'd be a little surprising if you bought the wrong one, you're running a marathon or something else. But yeah, so that was my story. More vodka than I've ever seen for sale in my life was in a little town of Kazakhstan while I was there. Carl saying first phone was an Android. I don't remember what mine was. Ma first 2018. Let's see. Yeah, we've come a long way, Bright Star. We certainly have. All right, Anthony Steig, my first cell phone was an analog briefcase. My first cell phone ever, and it was business, but I had it about 1995 or so. I had a mobile phone that truly was mobile because it was attached to my car. It was a big old box thing that sat in the little hump in the middle of my vehicle, and I could pull it up, and the battery pack was huge and all that, but it was something I could use while I was out in the field while I was running oil field jobs. So that was, I remember the car phones. That's what mine was, Bright Star. They used to call them car phones, and they looked like a brick. They were heavy, but we were so heavy. You felt like such a big wig if you actually had a mobile phone and someone was out in the field and they say, oh man, I'm gonna have to drive into town and ask a question about such and such tubing size. And you'd say, oh no, I got a phone in my car. Why don't you just go over there and use that instead? You just kind of smile and think, I'm high end at this point in time. All right, so there's your cell phones, guys. They have evolved so much. Ma saying that's right. So think, what are they going to be in another 20 years? How much improvement have we seen in the last 20? What's it going to be like in 2040? We may not have phones. They may just be implanted straight in our brains, and you'll never get away from them. I don't know if that's good or bad. See, Anthony Stike. Hey, Cliff, what do you think about the flap in Colorado, the In-N-Out Burger? I saw that, Anthony. For those of you who don't know, they opened up 2 different In-N-Out burgers in Colorado. I think Colorado Springs and Aurora. So I may be wrong on those, but 2 places in Colorado. And they've had people lined up for 13, 14 hours waiting to get into these stores to try their In-N-Out burgers. All right. Yeah. You know what? We've seen similar when people have opened Chick-fil-A's down here. And if Whataburger's open up in Colorado, I'd like to think we'll have the same thing. In-N-Out's got quite the reputation. So yeah, a lot of people, I like In-N-Out burgers. I like Whataburger more, but I like In-N-Out. They're fine for what they do, but I don't know that I'd stand in line for 14 hours to do them. I know when a Chick-fil-A opens here in Texas, it's kind of, for those of you who don't know, Chick-fil-A, when it opens up a new restaurant, I think the first, 100 people, 20 people, 50, it's some number. The first ones in line get free Chick-fil-A for a year, which works out to like a free sandwich a week, 52 coupons or something. And there will be people that'll show up 2 or 3 days ahead of time with a tent, and they will camp out in the parking lot of one of these new Chick-fil-A's just so they can stand in line long enough to get their free coupons for a year's worth of Chick-fil-A. Don't think I'm going to do that. It's a lot like Black Friday, which, what a segue. As Thanksgiving's coming up, Black Friday's right afterwards. I don't know how that's going to work this year with COVID, not as many stores being open, and so many people every year we get more and more used to the online stores, online purchasing and all that. I remember back in the day, when was this? Probably late 1990s, early 2000s. I remember a few times going and standing in line all night long at a Best Buy and some other places for Black Friday deals. And back then you got some good deals. I remember getting some toys for the kids and some electronics and things like that. The TV sets for just amazing prices. I also remember one year waiting in line at a toy store, and I think it was to buy some Barbies and some G.I. Joes and things like that for my son and daughter. But the big thing that particular year was Furbies. Y'all remember Furbies, that little stuffed thing that would talk back to you? Yeah, feed me. It looked like a gremlin or something. That was what everyone was standing in line for. Fortunately, my kids were a little too young. They didn't care about Furbies. And I'm glad, because all these people were standing there just in the hopes there maybe was going to be a Furby available. And then they opened up the lines and there weren't any, and people were all upset and griping and hollering and everything else. That particular season, like a couple of days before Christmas, I was at some toy store and I saw on the shelf one Furby for sale. And I looked at this Furby and it was great because it wasn't just any Furby. It was a Furby that spoke Spanish instead of English, which I'm sure a lot of people say, I don't want that for my kid. I thought it was perfect. I ended up buying that. I gave it to my mom. I think she still has it back home somewhere. A Spanish-speaking Furby. That's probably worth some money nowadays. But yeah, I was so happy to have that thing. And I remember walking to the front store and everyone saw me carrying this thing. And they all like, where'd you get that? Where'd you get that? And I'd say, well, it was the only one, but it only speaks Spanish anyway. So it kind of reminds me of that show, Jingle All the Way with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Have y'all seen that? It's one of my favorite shows. I love that, where he's looking for the action figure doll and going all over town and can't find it. All right, let me catch up with these comments because I'm just talking away. Bright Star, Black Friday seemed to always disappoint me. I agree. Just enjoy them off from work. The Black Fridays aren't nearly what they used to be, I don't think, because everyone now goes in and just buys the specials and all. But some of the online deals are always nice, just like the Tamagotchi. Yeah, Carol, I was never into the Tamagotchi, but I remember all those little virtual pets and everything else. I'm rooting for everyone except for Will and James. I like him, but then they start hating on the nerd team for no reason. Yeah, I don't want to spoil the Amazing Race by talking about the outcome of these last couple of episodes or anything else, but I got to say, watching the Amazing Race, I've enjoyed all the teams on there. I haven't as much enjoyed the alliance with those 5 teams just because I feel that it spoils some of the episodes. There was one, without giving too much away, one of the last episodes, they're having to walk down a building and unscramble letters. And unfortunately, only 1 or 2 people actually had to unscramble them. The rest of the alliance just told everyone else the answer. So it was just kind of defeated the whole purpose of that mental exercise. So I don't really like the alliances. I get why they're doing it. I don't blame them for doing it, but I wish there were some things they could do. They could change the rule saying you're not allowed to tell someone else the answer if you want to. But I guess part of the strategy is your alliance and all. And it probably doesn't matter because as we get to fewer and fewer teams, that alliance isn't going to last anyway. So, it'll solve itself. But it kind of took away from the enjoyment of some of these challenges they've had in the past. Carl Johnson, are there other Furbies in different languages too? There was one in Spanish. I don't know about other languages, but at least one other language that we had. I'm sure Japan, I'm sure they've got Japanese Furbies. Of course, over there, they're so high tech with some of this stuff. I'm sure their Furbies, they talk just like they talk like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Terminator or something. They probably have a whole lot more functioning in AI and everything else than some of the other Furby toys. All right, Theo Izisu. Howdy, Cliff. Been watching Amazing Race for its full run. Got a favorite season? Yeah, I've watched every single season. It's a little different from Big Brother or even Survivor, where you keep track of the seasons a little bit more because there's different themes or things like that. I can't remember a particular season that really jumps out at me. I remember more some of the challenges that people have done and everything. I think that there's some teams that I really like. Team Fun was a team. I don't even think they started off as a couple. They came together, and I like that season. But no, I can't tell you a particular season. If you tell me a particular challenge, I would probably remember it. I like the challenges where they're in places that they're a little out of the element, where they don't speak the local language, where they're just completely lost. Give me an episode in India where they're surrounded by people, they're taking little vehicles. I think we've got one of those coming up for the current season, but give me somewhere there where they just feel a little bit overwhelmed. And those are the kind of challenges, the kind of episodes I really like. Yeah, but I don't know if I have a particular season or a particular favorite team, but I have seen every season. And speaking of that, I'm excited. For those of you who don't know, there's also Amazing Races in other countries. And there's actually going to be an Amazing Race Australia that I'm sure they've already filmed it. I assume they've already filmed it. But it's going to be premiering in next spring, just right after the turn of the year, sometime 2021. And because of COVID, they couldn't go to other countries. They only are going to stay within Australia. This is for an Australian TV channel. And so all the racers are Australian, and they'll just go all over the country in Australia, which for me, having never been to Australia, sounds like a lot of fun. Get to see all the different parts of that country. It's not going to premiere here on US TV. I find these shows, the other countries' reality shows, I use a Fire Stick and and the Kodi program, software program to find them. But I'm excited for Amazing Race as well. Chicky D, Team Fun had such an instant connection. Love their energy and smiles. I had so much fun watching that team. I just remember one episode where they're having to ride a bicycle, and they had a big old bundle of reeds. I don't remember what it was, but the bicycle falling. It was just a miserable competition. But I was cheering that team on so much. Brian Hostetler, where can you watch past seasons of Amazing Race? Well, if you got CBS All Access, I think that every single one of them is out there. As is I think Survivor. Oh, Survivor's on Netflix. That's a little different. But yeah, I think Amazing Race is on CBS All Access. If not, I'm sure YouTube, places like that have them as well. Let's see. Well, I watch Fear the Walking Dead and Cliff's House. Bruce, maybe I missed a little bit of that conversation. I hope The Walking Dead is not at my house. But being the big zombie aficionado that I am, I know if zombies ever show up, I've already figured out all my defense patterns for this house, where I'm going to blockade and how I'm going to survive. Speaking of, funny how all this stuff segues. What's been going on? I got to show something off to y'all. Oh, that's pretty funny. Green screen kind of makes that. There's not a hole in here, but that'd be pretty cool. It's my Satsuma. It's my orange. It's funny how the green screen does it. Now my Satsumas are growing in the backyard. They're all starting to ripen up. So within the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be picking a whole bunch of Satsumas, which is a type of citrus. They're easy to peel. They're super juicy. They're super sugary. Oh, they're so good. So I'm going to be eating a whole lot of citrus for the next couple of weeks. So yeah, if zombies show up, I've got loofahs in the backyard. I've got avocados, and I've got grapes, and now I've got Satsuma oranges. So I'm set, at least for a little while. I don't want to put my whole green screen down. Sorry, guys. I'm screwed up a little bit. So yeah, so my Satsumas have been growing. So we're gonna have a little Thanksgiving treat as well. And they aren't hollow like that. Little things, little fun. I enjoyed watching. I'm sorry. All right, let's move on with it. I love all of them as well. It's Amazing and Race and Survivors. Just can't pick one. As far as seasons, I can't either. I love Survivor, where they have so many different themes every season. Now, Big Brother has different themes. We had the camp theme and all of that, but really in terms of the way the rules function and things like that, Big Brother doesn't shake it up near as much as Survivor does. So every Survivor season is kind of its own season with its own specific stories and twists and everything else. And that's kind of cool as well. Angie saying Amazing Race Canada season 4 winners were the best. Kristen and Steph, 2 gorgeous lesbians who won the whole thing. I haven't watched any of the Canadian Amazing Race. I know that y'all got them up there, Angie. I guess that's just a black spot in my viewing schedule. If I can figure out how to create 26 hours in a day, I'd love to watch some of the Amazing Race. Do they come to the U.S. and just hang around and do things here? Or I guess they travel all over the world just like the American version does, huh? But yeah, I love the Amazing Race. I love the traveling of all of it. All right, let's see. 2 seasons are on Netflix for Survivor. Thank you, Ben. Cross Track 6. I am into Nurse Ratched now on Netflix. I saw the promo for that. I'm not sure I can handle a nurse that seems like she's kind of an evil person, right? I think if I remember seeing that, and I may wait till COVID's over before I get into Nurse Ratched. That seems a little creepy for me right now. But I did see the premiere for it. All right, let's see. I only use Netflix for breaking, holes in my hand. Isn't that something? Oh. I'll fill those holes up with Thanksgiving. I'll tell you that much. Speaking of that, all right, let's talk about Thanksgiving. Well, I think I'm more or less caught up. Sequester on YouTube is great to watch. I've watched some of the Sequester Bright Star. I know they've started a whole new season, or they're getting ready to start like a full term, not just the mini Sequesters, which I've watched. So I'm going to try to keep up with that. But let's talk about Thanksgiving. All right, here's the story in the Hogg household. Every year for Thanksgiving, we typically will go up to my parents' house in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And all my extended family will be up there as well. Brothers and in-laws and, everyone. We have a whole house full every Thanksgiving up there. And we've done that ever since Sharon and I got married. It's always been at my parents' house for Thanksgiving. But because of COVID this year, we're not doing it. It just seems like not the prudent, as George Bush would say, doesn't seem prudent. No, it doesn't seem prudent at all. So no, we're not going up to Dallas-Fort Worth for Thanksgiving. We're going to stay here instead, which is going to be a little different. It's not something we're used to, but it also means that we're going to be cooking first turkey that we've cooked in forever. We're going to be cooking here at the house instead. So y'all think of us. We've already got the turkey. It's thawing out as we speak, and have everything ready to go. And we'll be cooking up our own turkey and having a fine time of it. And we'll be doing Zoom calls with the rest of the family up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area instead. So yeah, once again, COVID strikes and screws things up just a little bit. Carol saying I have 18 adults coming and all of us took a COVID test. That's good. That seems like a good idea. We thought about it, but we just couldn't justify it because some of the people in the extended family have younger kids that it's tough for some of them to quarantine and they've been out and about. And so we're just going to try to do our share and not do anything. But yeah, I'm glad the people are getting together. I wish everyone would be proactive. It sounds like you are, Carol. It would help cut this thing back a whole lot faster. Angie, I'm testing my technology. I'm streaming this on my laptop, new 4K TV, and my mobile phone. Well, I'm like, it's not stereo, trio, huh? Triple stereo, I guess. I hope I'm coming. I hope the lag is not such that you just hear echoes all over the place, Angie. But let me know how it goes. Isn't this technology great? All right, let's. What are you doing for Christmas? Joshy P is asking. Don't know. I guess it depends on how quickly this COVID happens and vaccines and all that. Our Christmas tradition is a little bit different. It's always worked out well. We've always done Thanksgiving with my extended family up in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. But then Christmas, we have always celebrated it here at home. Kids and everything. It's always made it easier to actually have Christmas here at the house. And then usually right after we would get done with Christmas, we would then go up to Dallas-Fort Worth and visit the family and everything for, the 26th, the 27th, something like that. And Sharon and our wedding anniversary is on December 29th. So it always worked out well that we would go out there, spend Christmas, then we could drop off the kids with the grandparents, go celebrate our anniversary, just the two of us on the 29th, and then stay up there for New Year's and then come back home. Don't know if we'll do that this year or not. I'd like to. It's our 30th wedding anniversary. So it seems like we need to get out and celebrate a little bit. But it all depends on what's going on. Unfortunately, it seems like in some parts of the country, things are getting worse, not better. So we're just playing it by ear, just like we've done for the last freaking 8 months. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I haven't thought that far ahead because just don't know yet. Moss, I'm Zoom calling for Thanksgiving as well. I am too. I got to figure I'm going to get a scene of turkeys running around or something else for my backdrop for Zoom because now I feel like I'm a technical expert because I've been doing these shows and everything else. Ben Morrison, going to my grandparents in Frisco for Thanksgiving. Well, I know exactly where Frisco is. I got family up in that part of the Dallas-Fort Worth area as well, so y'all have fun. Did y'all do anything for July 4th in the Big Brother house? Yeah, Ben, we actually did. We had I'm trying to think. I think July 4th was the day after Ovi was booted from the house, evicted. And if y'all remember, he thought he was going home. And as he started to walk out the door, Julie Chen came on the loudspeakers and said, Ovi, you're not going anywhere. You've been evicted, but you're staying in the house. And that's when David Alexander came running in. And we found out that no one was going to go home for another couple of weeks when they did the battle back. So Ovi was all excited that he was still in the house for the 4th of July. And we had a big party that day. I'm trying to remember exactly how it worked. I think the yard was open, so we laid out all day on the 4th of July. They actually, I guess, shut down the feeds for a little bit because we had pizzas brought in. Again, we didn't see anyone. They just said, check the storage room. We went back there and there were pizzas and pasta and some beer and things like that. They played a little music for us, which was fantastic just to listen to some songs. And I'll never forget, they played Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen, and the whole house except for one sang along to the entire song, and we had so much fun singing together. That one person was Nick, who had never heard Bohemian Rhapsody. I'm still amazed. He was sitting there staring at us saying, how do y'all all know the words to this song? I've never even heard it before. I said, Nick, do you live in Amish country or what? Because how do you not hear Bohemian Rhapsody? But he never heard it before, so he was amazed that we knew every little bit, and we did our banging our heads all at the same time and everything. So yeah, it was fun. 4th of July, just a way to get away from the game for just a little bit. And then at night, the TV screen that's up in the living room where we see Julie when she talks to us, they switched it over and they played fireworks being shot off from different parts, different capitals around the world. So we got to watch a little bit of fireworks from inside the house, just watching them on TV for a little bit. So that was our 4th of July. And yeah, that was a lot of fun. All right, let's see. Let me catch on. So they bring food in for y'all. Then they did, but that was about the only time they brought in food. They brought in food for us, I want to say, on the 4th of July. When we reached the halfway point, I think we got a little food. And then on Labor Day, towards the very end, when there were only like 5 or 6 of us in there, they put a grill in the backyard, and there were a bunch of burgers and stuff set out that we grilled up and everything. And so I think that's about the only time we actually had food brought in. The rest of the time, you had raw food in storage that you had to cook and everything else. But those are the times where we actually got some pizza and things like that, which was a nice break for being in that house. So yeah, that 4th of July was the first time we got to do that and listen to a little bit of music. The music was almost more fun than the food in some ways. All right, let's see. Amanda Lowe, do you know when the live feeds are on? Do they let y'all know? No, Amanda, we have no clue. The only clue we have is during the first week, we knew that the feeds were not on. We were told, hey guys, feeds aren't on yet. We want to try to get y'all used to switching out your microphones and not cursing any more than you absolutely need to, and not singing and all the things that you're not supposed to do on your house. So the feeds weren't on the first week. And if I recall, they told us, they said, guys, later today, the feeds are going to turn on, within the next few hours. So you need to be ready for that. So we kind of knew they were getting ready to come on. But beyond that, we never knew. Now, if music was playing, we knew the feeds weren't on. So in the morning when they woke us up, we knew the feeds were turned off. When we were locked down in the HOH room, for example, while they got things ready for eviction, because again, we couldn't see people. So when they were working on eviction, the live episodes, they'd make us all go upstairs. They'd turn off that TV so we couldn't look down into the kitchen or anywhere else. And then people would come rushing around and do whatever they needed to do, set up their camera shots, things like that. So, there were times where we knew the live feeds weren't turned on, but the rest of the time you never knew. I know watching it, there are so many times with the kittens and puppies and all, we don't know when that is or when that isn't. And I know there's times like, is it day 30 when there was so much yelling and hollering, and then later I found out that no, the feeds weren't on, but then I guess something leaked and some feeds got sent straight from a satellite. I know I heard a little bit of that story. I just assumed all the feeds that entire day were on, and then later I found out maybe not so much. Same way that day where Tommy and Mickey got in such a fight, and Mickey told his lie about what Tommy had told him and all. I assumed every bit of that was going to be on the live feeds, and then later I found out that some of it was, but not all of it. So now we don't have any clue when the feeds are on or not for certain. Yeah, Chicky D, that 9/11 tribute, that was very important to me. I'm glad we got to do that. So it was cool, and I remember going into the diary room and telling Big Brother, hey, could y'all wake us up so we can do a little remembrance? And they said, yeah, we'll wake you up. And then they forgot to, I don't know if they forgot to, whatever happened. They didn't wake us up until a little bit after the actual, I guess they woke us up in time to remember when the towers fell instead of when the actual first plane hit, which was okay. It was a lot of, it meant a lot to me that knowing I was on TV, that I got to honor not just people who died, but everyone whose lives were impacted, and all the first responders who were killed or put in so much effort and everything else. But I got to tell y'all one thing. As much as I don't mind being on TV, as much as I sat there and I talked to Julie Chen in front of millions of people watching TV, it's like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, that is the part where I was probably more nervous than the entire rest of the time I was in that Big Brother house, was when we all sat there and I led the singing of the Star Spangled Banner. And all I could think is, Lord, do not let me mess up the words on a. I don't care if I don't sound good. I can't carry a tune that well anyway. So if I'm off pitch, whatever. Yeah, y'all don't expect perfection from me on that, but just don't let me forget the words or get the words messed up, because I'll feel like such a goofus if I do that. So of all the times I was in the Big Brother house, singing the national anthem was probably the time that I was most worried about screwing something up and looking bad on TV. So just a little insight into old Cliff Hogg and what I was thinking on that particular day. Angie saying, Tim Rice said he thought Bohemian Rhapsody was Freddie Mercury's secret coming out song. I like Queen. I like Freddie Mercury. I wish I'd followed him even more while he and the band were performing, while Freddie Mercury was still with us, because the more I listen to Queen's music and more I learn about Freddie Mercury, I'm just amazed. That guy was such an artist. Oh my gosh, it was such an amazing guy. All right, let's see what else. Yeah, I can't believe Nick didn't. I couldn't either, Chicky D. I still feel like there's some things people told me in there that I'm still not 100% convinced they were telling me the truth. I had someone tell me they'd never watched Mr. Rogers, never watched the Brady Bunch. Someone else tell me that they didn't know who King Arthur was, who had never seen Monty Python. And there's a few that I've always thought you got to know these things, right? But they said they didn't, and you don't want to challenge people too much. And I don't want to challenge them now, because if they truly are telling the truth, yeah, I don't want to come to them and say, I can't believe that you wouldn't know that, because that's just so I've never said anything. But yeah, there were a few things people said that have always surprised me a little bit. Joshy P, how come the feeds go down very often? I'm not sure, Joshy. Some of it's because someone's singing. I think some of it's because if there's something particularly juicy coming up, maybe they want to save some bits of information for the live episode, or for the broadcast episodes on prime time. Other times, I don't know. It's a mystery sometimes. Sometimes it seems very bland stuff going on. There's no reason that you would need to shut down the feed. No one's singing. No one's talking about diary room. No one's talking about production, but they still go down. So I don't know, maybe a cameraman wanted to take a smoke break or something, or the feeds. I don't know. Maybe the feed just cut off because the power went out. So I really don't know. But yeah, it gets a little frustrating at times. But it is what it is. Thank you, Bright. Sorry, 9/11 tribute was so beautiful. I appreciate your 9/11 tribute. That's one of those times where, as much as you're focused on the game, there were just a couple of times in that house when I honored the men landing on the moon, when we honored 9/11, Labor Day. There's a few times where we kind of got to step back from the game itself and think about all the other things that were actually happening around the world, and that was kind of nice, just to take those little breaks and think about things other than the game, because we needed those breaks. Let's see. Ma, to be fair, they're young and sadly aren't exposed to that kind of TV. It's sad. Yeah, anyone who hadn't seen the Brady Bunch or Mr. Rogers, sad indeed. I grew up on that stuff. And I'd come home. I'd come home from school and we'd have Leave It to Beaver, the Brady Bunch, Gilligan's Island. There were the set shows every afternoon that. How many times I've seen each of those episodes of Brady Bunch? I don't know, but apparently not everyone has seen it. How would your mom not allow Mr. Rogers? I know it. I know, but hey, it's different when I was growing up as compared to today, where you can turn on the TV and you got 50 different channels, and they may not have seen the Brady Bunch, but I'm sure they saw Peppa Pig, or I don't know who were the big ones 15 years ago. I don't know, Gullah Gullah Island. Magic School Bus, and I spent a lot of time watching Magic School Bus with my kids. There's some quality programming out there as well. All right, let's see. Grew up watching the Brady Bunch, even though it was already years in this syndication. I actually may have shed a tear when I found out that the Brady Bunch was being canceled back in 72 or 73. I remember when it happened. I was on a vacation to California. I was out in the middle of Death Valley. And my mom was reading in the paper and said, they canceled Brady Bunch. It's like, don't miss Oliver that much, but I was going to miss the rest of the Brady Bunch. All right, let's see. What else is going on, guys? I grew up watching, I'm a Peppa Pig. Remember Blondie? Oh, God, Bob, I remember Blondie, but that's taking a step back too, Bright Star. I guarantee most people don't know, have never watched Blondie, the TV show. All right, what did the production crew need to go into the house to do? Ben's asking. Ben, they had to do things. They had to get set up for their camera shots. Lots of times I know, like a light bulb would go out. And suddenly after we were in lockdown, we'd come back and the light bulb was working again. So they do that. There was a time or two where there was an issue with plumbing, or I have heard, and I don't know this for certain, but every once in a while, one of the cameras would stop working, or maybe it wouldn't rotate the way it was supposed to. Maybe it's just squeaky. Y'all don't understand. It was kind of creepy sometimes. I'd get up in the middle of the night to go into the bathroom or go get something to eat. And as you'd walk, you'd hear those cameras as they turn and follow you, which you get used to. But it's still kind of strange whenever you walk anywhere in these cameras, or I'd be busy packing my suitcase and all of a sudden the camera turned right towards me. So I think sometimes they'd have to fix the camera, or when they wanted to do the live show, they wanted it clean. So there were times if there was something on a table somewhere, we'd come in and all the stuff on tables, a kitchen table, before like the eviction before the nomination ceremony. Suddenly the kitchen table would be cleared. All that stuff would be back in the bathroom or on some other counter somewhere in the kitchen itself. So there's a lot of just maintenance, a little bit of house cleaning, things like that that would happen while we were locked down. But again, we weren't ever supposed to see any of that. And for the most part, we never did. I know we had once or twice, someone went into the HOH room once, opened the door, and it was supposed to be locked, but it hadn't locked. And there were people in there cleaning and stuff like that. And it's like, oh, sorry. So once or twice, there were people who saw some of the production people doing their little tasks, but we were locked in, and I never saw any of it. You know, they truly kept us blocked off and isolated from everyone else. All right, let's see. There's The Simpsons as well. Parker saying, I watched The Simpsons. I watched it when it was the, Julia, what was her name? I can't remember that The Simpsons actually was on before they had their own show, the Julia something or other. You can't do that on television. We watched that as well. Yeah, Angie, I love that one. All right, Moz, so weird to hear the stories. Feels so weird to be within the production when we just see the edited episodes. I know it was, here's what shocked me, because I'm just like y'all. I've always sat there and said, how much of that is real? How much of it, things like when we got our keys, how do those people really not know that they're getting the key? Well, I suspected that probably was going to happen, but I didn't know that was my key until I looked down there and saw it. It was not scripted at all. And inside the house, all the different things, drama and everything that's happening, I was just like everyone else. I was like, oh my gosh, this is all, I'm not seeing anyone in the diary room. It's complete. I'm talking to a microphone, and it's, I'm not seeing people. I really am not hearing anything that's going on in the outside world. I'm really not having secret phone calls with my family or anything else. That's the part that surprised me more than anything else, was knowing that, yeah, production was involved. I mean, who knows how many people, cameramen and everything else that's needed for that show are involved in the process. But from within the house in there, we didn't have contact with any of them. And it was just, it was so strange seeing that what I was living really was what you see on the show. It's just, it was 24 hours a day instead of just an hour, every few nights a week type situation. It was all encompassing, but there's not a lot. You aren't really seeing anything different. You just don't see as much of it. But there's not a lot of secret stuff that I can even tell you, because it is what it is. Really, for the most part, it is what it is. Angie saying, did you ever get close friendship-wise to a production person? No, because I knew the voices of some of the people I'd talked to the diary room, but I didn't. They were voices from above, and so and they wouldn't really. It's not like we had conversations about, oh, what'd you do this weekend? Things like that. It was very much one-sided. Someone say, hey, Cliff, how are you doing? Tell us what's going on. And so, yeah, I didn't really get close to anyone. Now, there's a few of the people before and after the show that you interact with. People like Robin Cass from casting, and, people that you met during the audition process and afterwards. And so some of them and some of the people involved with casting and some of the executive producers in charge of the games and things like that. So there's people that I enjoy talking to, and I'd look forward to somewhere down the road being able to say hello to again to. But while playing the game itself, I just didn't have enough contact with any of them to say I was close to anyone, or even be able to call them out by name or anything at all. What advice would you give to people going to play the game? Ben says. All right, here's the deal, Ben. First of all, everyone has to realize if they go in that house, if you want to be to the very end, it is a long-term game. 99 days is a long time to be in that house. So I think there's some people that come in playing too hard, too fast. You just have to go slow. You don't have to try to do everything in the first week. I think there's something to be said for just laying low and letting things happen, letting the drama take place with other people. The other thing I've told people since being in the house, you don't owe people information ever. You don't owe people, you shouldn't have to tell people that they're going home. And I did it a few times, and so I'm guilty of what I'm saying you shouldn't do. But you don't have to tell someone they're going home. You don't have to tell someone where you're leaning in terms of maybe who you would nominate if you were selected. Sometimes it's nice just to keep your mouth shut and not, because anything you say, and maybe this is the biggest hint, do not assume when you are talking to anyone in that entire house, do not assume that anything you say is ever going to stay between you and that person. If you don't want it to be shared with everyone else in the house, you probably shouldn't say it in the first place. Nicole Anthony is the only person I talked to in that house that I felt like I could fully trust with my secrets, and hopefully it was vice versa. No one else in that house, even people I was aligned with, that still doesn't mean that I suspected that if I told them something, it wouldn't eventually get passed on to other people. And oftentimes it did. I remember Tommy coming up to me at one point and saying, Cliff, I know you want me out first over Christy. And I said, well, what are you talking about, Tommy? And he says, well, someone told me that you said that you'd like to get me out first because you felt like Christy would fall apart if I wasn't in here helping her out. And I'd said exactly that. So it's like, yeah, okay, well, there you go, Tommy. It's a credit to the way I think you're playing your game. I've got enough respect for you. But, that was one of those situations where it just became obvious. There's too many people spilling too many secrets in there to ever think that anything's going to stay a secret. So keep that in mind. Keep your mouth closed and use a whisper voice, especially when you're in the boat room and people may be listening outside the door. Use a whisper voice. All right, let's see. JC, please conserve water due to the drought. That's always a good thing. I love how the cast named the voice that tells you guys to stop that. Yeah, there was a lot of stop that. Stop that. Oh, we heard a lot of that. I tried to do a few things. I know the washer was draining improperly once, and I wanted to go back. All I had to do was unscrew a hose and screw it back on. I tried to crawl back behind the washer to do that, and I heard a whole lot of stop that Cliffs real quick. So they didn't want us messing with the production at all. Laney's saying, did Christy really... let me go back. Did Christy really just happen to walk by when you were doing your morning chat, or did production plant a seed for it? Just seemed too perfect. If they planted a seed, I sure didn't know about it. Yeah, and she has never told me otherwise. I truly think that she just happened to wake up. I mean, it's not a big deal that people woke up and went to the bathroom. And I think she just happened to walk by just in time to hear me mention her name. I just happened to be talking about all the different couples that were in this alliance, and I mentioned her name along with everyone else. It would have been just as easy for her to walk by while I was talking about Whataburger or George Strait or shout out to my family or all the random stuff that I talked about in that room. But she just timed it correctly. And I don't know. I don't know how anyone would plant a seed, even if someone had said, a few days before, oh, did you know Cliff's in there talking or whatever. It really wasn't a deep, dark secret. I'd already told people, yeah, I get up in the morning and I talk to my family on the camera and everything. So I don't think they did. I think it was just one of those things that just happened. Bad luck on me, good luck on her, but it worked out in the end. Okay. Christy is nosy. Hey, Christy was playing the game. She would have been better if she had not spilled the beans to everyone else. If she'd kept it a secret a little bit longer, she could have leveraged that against me and had so much more power. Oh, when it came down to when I was HOH and she and I reached that little deal, if she had not told anyone, if she had at that point had said, Cliff, I overheard you talking. I know all about your strategies and everything else. She could have had me over a barrel at that point in time and probably forced me to do a lot more stuff or give her a little bit more control. But because she'd already told everyone, she kind of lost her power at that point in time. So she could have handled that a little bit better, but I'm glad it worked out the way it did. It really worked to my advantage because once that happened, I had to change my whole strategy and just say, all right, guys, y'all heard me. You know exactly what I'm thinking, exactly what I'm planning and everything else. And so therefore, there's no secrets with me. I'm just trying to survive until y'all fall apart and then pick me up and run with me and all. And so it worked out okay. You got to be flexible in that game. That's all I'll say. You got to be flexible. You got to handle whatever comes along. And I felt like I did a decent pivot once I was overheard to save my game and move on at that point in time. Crosstrack, I find it hard to believe that Christy and sorry, I'm trying to keep up with this. And I lost it. That Tommy and Christy had no idea they were both on the show. They, Crosstrack, I really don't think they knew. I know they both knew that they had both tried out, but I think they were both trying to keep it a secret from each other because, yeah, no one wants to not make it on the show because you told the wrong person that you were going forward in the process. So I think it's perhaps reasonable that they didn't tell each other about it, especially at that time. I know Christy had dated someone in Tommy's family and that had ended. And so I don't know how tight they were at that point in time. Who knows? Angie, put on your mic. You get me worried when I see that. All right, let's see. That was crazy. Not one, but two pairs of people knew each other. Yeah, I know. I was not happy to hear that at all. And at the end, when it came even to making that decision between Tommy and Holly, sending them home, knowing that Tommy had Christy already there on the jury selling for him, I did not want Tommy in a final two against me in a jury at all. I was so worried. I thought Tommy I felt like Mickey probably could beat anyone if he was in that final two. And I felt like Tommy was the next best in terms of he could probably beat everyone except maybe Mickey. And even that, I wasn't sure what the perception was with the jury. Those were the two that I call me cocky, but I felt like I could probably beat anyone else in a final two other than Mickey or Tommy. And I felt like either one of them could potentially beat me in a final two up against the jury. That's one of the reasons someone had asked the question. So why, the reasons for picking Holly versus Tommy and all when we had to make that horrible decision, horrible, just stressful decision. That was one of the reasons. I really felt like if it came down to it, I could beat Holly in a final two. I didn't think I could beat Tommy in a final two. And that the worst situation would have been Tommy and Mickey and Nicole and I in a final four. And if either Nicole or either one had gone home and had to go up to final three with those two guys, I just don't think either one of us would have won it. So, yeah, it was tough when I found out. And I didn't know about Holly and Kat knowing each other until I think we did the jury roundtable. I'd already been booted from the house. I never knew. And I was working with Holly. I think a lot of people thought that I knew about it. I didn't have a clue until I got out, and then my jaw just dropped about that. I think I found out that Kat and Holly knew each other during the jury roundtable. And then I found out during the finale night that Nick and Kat had been dating each other in the Big Brother house. And I know my jaw dropped when I heard that little bit of news because I didn't expect that at all. Bright Star, are the ants invasions that bad in the Big Brother house? And yeah, they were a lot worse for other seasons. They weren't so bad for ours. Towards the very end, like the last third week from the end, somewhere right around there, towards the very end, I think Tommy was still in the house. They came in through the backyard. They got up in the kitchen, but we put some poison out, and it wasn't horrible. But I've seen other seasons. It was a whole lot worse. Ma, yeah, please stop singing. Ma saying, they called me out for whistling and humming a little bit. I tried not to sing too much. I did a lot of dancing, but I tried not to sing too much. I wanted to. I sung when I was in the shower, but that was okay because music was playing at the time. Ben Morrison, how much of the nominations evictions were based on personal relationships? Well, I don't know. They weren't on me. From my standpoint, when I was making nominations, when I was deciding who to vote out, it was strictly gameplay. I mean, if it had been based on something other than gameplay, I would have put Christy up for putting me up when I got HOH. I would have gone after Tommy more if I could, although I wanted Tommy out because I had a lot of respect for him as a game player. But Mickey, he banished me on day one. I thought that actually worked in my advantage. I approached him right after I got back in the house and said, look, no one's going to expect you and I to work together since you just got through banishing me. But I'm telling you, I want to work with you. And you got a loyal person if you'll work with me. And he said, yeah, that's fine. And that kind of started off where we were trying to help each other out a little bit. But yeah, so my decisions weren't based on personal relationships. But having said that, there are a lot of personal relationships. I didn't ever expect Jack and Sis to ever vote against each other. I didn't expect Christy and Tommy to ever vote against each other. Same way with Mickey and Holly, even though I was hoping at the end, but yeah, you take what you can. But no, the relationships, especially the dating couples, people like that, no, that's got to come into play, right? I mean, and to some degree, I suppose, even Nicole and I, we were ride and dies, and then we had a relationship, and playing the game together and trusting each other and all of that. So it's got to come into play for everyone. As much as you say, I'm just going to play the game, I'm not going to let emotions or anything else interfere with how I play the game. You're in the house for 3 months with these people. You can't help but develop relationships with them. And it hurts. I mean, sending anyone out of the house. There is no one that went out of the house, even the people I wanted gone. I was glad to see Jack gone because I thought he was a linchpin to that whole alliance. And once he was gone, I felt like it would start falling apart. But that doesn't mean that anyone from Ovi, the very first week, all the way to Tommy at the end, right before me, I didn't feel good sending any of these people home. They were all nice people. We were all crushing some dreams every time that happened. So I just had to keep telling myself, it's just a game. I'm going to keep my head held high. I'm not going to take it personally if it ever happens to me. So I hope they don't do it if it happens to them as well. Yeah, Amanda Lowe, I was screaming at the TV when I watched Christy listening to you. I think my family was screaming at the TV a little bit as well. 7:50. All right, we'll shut down here in just a second. Bright Star, she walked by, saw the feeds, and was ear hustling. That season was a season of eavesdropping. There was a lot of eavesdropping going on. Mickey was the king. I don't know how much they showed of that, but he would put his ears up everywhere and listen to people. And most of the time it was to my advantage, so I didn't have any problem with it. But yeah, and of course he eavesdropped on us, and that burned us a little bit. Yeah, there was a lot of eavesdropping going on. And I tried it. I don't know. I guess I'm just a little bit older. Maybe my hearing, it's not like I'm deaf or anything, but I just couldn't hear people. There were people who would try to whisper. I mean, across the room, they try to whisper to you so other people wouldn't hear you or know that you were talking. I can't read lips. I can't hear whispers. They'd be right up in my ear whispering something. I don't hear you. We're going to have to go into other rooms because I just can't understand you. Same way with eavesdropping. I tried it a few times, but I just hear muffled sound. It was always hard for me. Crosstrack, Christy's chewing. I know people have talked about that and made fun of it, but you know what, Crosstrack? I never even really noticed it while I was in the house. Didn't even faze me. All right, let's see. Holly was such a floater. Holly played a good game, Amanda. I know that some people have criticized her for that, but she played a lot of under the radar game. I think that burned her in the end because people didn't recognize some of the stuff that she did because she played so under the radar. But she made it to the final two. There's something to be said for that. All right, let's see. I'm gonna have to shut this down just a second, guys. But Christy played too hard, too fast. Yeah, she was HOH the very first week, and she was playing hard. I've heard how much she wanted to be out at the first, and some of the things that she was really plotting and scheming. You got to be careful. You go too fast too. Jack did the same thing. He played so hard that first, and I knew he was athletic. But in week 2, when he won the HOH competition, watching fireworks, and I suddenly knew that he was also mentally a strong competitor. That's when, and his relationships with everyone, that's when I said, that guy's got to go. He is an all-around package. He scares me to death because he is too strong at everything. So just a little bit of, the littlest thing that someone does in a house will set off the radar on everyone else, I think. All right, let's see. What else? Let's see. No, I was a good idea. Holly's such a Amanda. Kat was a great player. I like Kat. She was fun. She's fun to be in the house with. She was always good for a laugh. And I'm glad we got to work together some. Unfortunately, we had a falling out because we were both on the block at the same time, and that's never fun. But no, I enjoyed playing with Kat. I'm ready to go on The Amazing Race or something with Kat. Do some other reality shows with her. That would be a lot of fun. Do you think Paul's the best BB player? I don't know if I'd say best, but I think he's a pretty good player. He made it to final two times, right? There's something to be said for that. If it was you versus Holly in the final 2, who do you think Kat would have voted for? The Mole Man says. Mole Man, I've been told that I would have had Kat's vote, that she was my biggest cheerleader while in the house. I I think that's the case. I'm pretty sure that's the case, but Kat's the only one who could say that for sure. I think I would have had her vote. I think I would have had a lot of people's vote. Now, there are people who I truly think wanted someone from the Grateful Eight, from the Six Shooters, to win the whole thing so they could say that's the greatest alliance ever and everything else. So that would have been a disadvantage if it came down to me versus Holly or anyone else from that alliance. But having said that, I think my final two speech would have helped as well. I think I could have gotten a few votes. All right, guys, it is 8 o'clock, so I'm going to go ahead and chase. I'm going to screen through here real quick. I was praying for you, Ovi and Nicole, to make it to the end. We tried Bright Star. It's so much fun. The Fellowship of the Zing. Total Drama Island. Yeah, there was a lot of drama in there a lot of times. Do you think the outcome would have been different had you kept Tommy, or was Mickey just destined? All right, I'll answer that one, and I'll finish it up, Tyler, on that one. I think, yeah, some things would have been a little bit different, but I think if we kept Tommy instead of Holly, Tommy wins that next HOH. Mickey still wins a veto. Mickey then makes a decision. He sends me home because he viewed me as a greater threat than Nicole, and he would have been mad for me sending Holly home. So I still would have gone home fourth. And then from that point on, I think Mickey still wins the whole thing. So there you have it, guys. I'm just old Boss Hogg's personal opinion. Guys, y'all have a fantastic Thanksgiving. Stay safe. If you're going to visit family, social distancing, wear your mask. Just because you're with family doesn't mean you can't still practice some safety limits, because we want to end this thing, right? But have a fantastic Thanksgiving. Enjoy Black Friday if y'all participating in that. A little bit of football coming up. So y'all have a fantastic week. I will see y'all again next Monday. Cheers, my friends. SKD 143. I love all of y'all. Love my wife. Love my kids. Y'all have a great one, guys. Bye.